let's discuss something right quick. Is he arrogant? Yeah. Can he be self-centered? Yeah. But Mike, look at this catalog. Like when he's calling himself great and wants to be treated like he's great, it's like, well, I'm gonna have to agree with that shit. Look at this catalog. Look at his catalog. Look at the 3 albums that we named, that he executive produced masterfully for 3 succinctly different artists.
Well, I'm glad he's getting on board with our concept of Kanye versus Kanye in the verses, because that's all we need. You know what I'm saying? Like, we need Kanye the producer versus Kanye the MC, man. There's nobody else to go against him.
I'm going to scream this from the hills, Mike. You were the first person to say it. You're taking all the credit for that. When you said it, I was like, that's the best hip-hop comment of the year. Ye versus Ye.
I mean, I don't know if he saw the show or maybe great minds think alike, but, I mean, it's the only thing that makes sense.
Mike, it was funny because if you were watching that point, you could see how fast his mind was moving and how excited he was getting at the thought of him versus him. He was like, oh, yeah, college dropout versus my beautiful. Oh, ain't nothing touching my beautiful dark twisted fantasy. Okay, college dropout versus graduation. Oh, Mike, he was ready to go.
Ye versus new Ye. But nah, I don't even want to do that. I want to do the artist versus the producer.
New Ye getting waxed. New Ye gonna get waxed.
Yeah, because that wouldn't even be fair to the new Ye. But. Right. But yeah, man, I thought that was really, really interesting in the fact that he even brought that part of it up, because there really is nobody for him in a versus. He can do too much. And it's kind of like what we were talking about with the Misty and Busta Rhymes. Like, I don't even want to shortchange, and I say this respectfully to Busta Rhymes, I don't want to shortchange Missy like that. Like, all she has is her rap stuff like The Rain or whatever. No, she's done so much writing, that's not even fair to her to have to compartmentalize just one part of her career to be matched up with another person. She needs to be matched up with another rapper / songwriter, producer. And in Kanye's space, there's nobody else but him. He only needs to be matched up with him, because he would wax anybody else. Point blank period. Even Dr. Dre, as great as Dr. Dre is, what happens when he start playing, a Through the Wire or something like that? Or it's not fair. And he's such a head. He's gonna pick great songs too. That's the other part.
Would they get to use? Would they get to use the records that they've produced as well?
Why not? Babyface did.
So I'm going to tell you something. When you're saying that he would do that to Dr. Dre too, Mike, I think that it would be a great battle, but here's what I'm going to tell you. He doesn't have as many iconic singles. He has great singles. He has classic singles, but it's not going to be as iconic as some of Dre's stuff. So I'm still going to give Dre the slight edge. It's not going to be as iconic.
I think...
Because Murder Was the Case, Nothing But a G thing, like that's different, Mike.
It is.
I'm sorry, like you talking about what he gonna do when he play Through the Wire. It's like, oh, he gonna play Nothing But a G thing, or Next Episode,
well, listen,
or Explosive,
you know me,
or Still Dre Day, or Dre Day, Mike, or Let Me Ride. Like, what do you mean? Or you gonna play In the Club, Mike? Like, that's what I'm saying. It's like, what you mean? Or It's Funky Enough by the DLC, or Straight Outta Compton. Listen, his shit is iconic. Like that's where LL and Dre are comparable. It's like, it's not just that they're hits and that it's big. It's that when you sit it down and you pair it next to somebody else, it's like, oh, well, that's just not as iconic. It's like, yeah, Jay's a hit maker, but you and I just ran down LL's hits. Jay's hits aren't as iconic as LL's hits now, are they?
I think this is slightly different, right? Because... Let me rewind real quick, because I said this last year on the show, right? I said this last year. Dr. Dre's stuff comes through the speakers very different. But this is the thing about Kanye that's very different, too. He's such a head, so smart, and he has such a range of things to pull from.
What is Dre?
No, I agree. But see, Dre doesn't hit people on a personal level. I think Kanye has that odd pairing where he's able to pull that Scarface, Tupac type of personalization to things. And he doesn't care about the hits like that, right? He has the hits, but he could play something like, the song about his mama. He doesn't care.
Mike,
he'll let it all hang out.
No, Mike, my favorite Kanye song is Roses off Late Registration.
I think he's so smart that if he were going up against Dr. Dre or something like that, he knows that those songs are iconic, so he'll go the other direction.
It's not gonna work, but I
I
hear
don't know. I think
Mike, you want to mock verse it? Dre versus Ye?
I would love that. I would love that. Yeah, we should mock verse that. Yo, I just think that Kanye's one of the more brilliant minds ever in hip hop. Right there with the Q-tips. It's just
last night's proof. Yeah, last night's proof.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing. I mean,
he knows exactly what he's doing.
You know what was real proof for me? It was Daytona. Everything that he was going through at that time, the MAGA hat was strong at that time. He had just come off that TMZ interview and the Charlemagne interview. And dude, you made this? This don't even sound like Kanye, honestly. Like, he went away from a lot of the things that we know him for. Like he said, you can have soul drums Kanye versus trap drums Kanye.
So here's what he did for Pusha T. And I realized, and when you're saying that, I just had an epiphany. It's like, oh man, he's a head's head. You want to know what he did for Pusha T on Daytona? The same thing that the Neptunes did on Hell Hath No Fury.
He did, yeah.
He it's him in terms of what he do, but he switched it up to fit what that guy does best.
I don't know which one I'm more impressed by, Daytona or B, because B is incredibly impressive. When you think back at the time and what was going on at that time, he totally was like, as a fan, he's like, listen, this is where I see this thing going. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, Mike, he was made to make that album for Common. So when you say that, it's like, Mike, I don't think for any one album there's been a better pairing.
Right.
Not for one album. Like, for one album, it's like, no, that was magic. He gave Common exactly what he needed.
He gave Common a whole new image.
And when he didn't, there was Dilla.
And Dilla had passed at that time. So he was able to pick.
Track-wise, I'm talking track-wise.
Yeah. So he was able to they were kind of able to fit some of that stuff in without actually working with them, which is impressive too.
No, it's brilliant, but it was easier to do than Daytona. That's what I'm saying. It was easier to do Bay. The degree of difficulty on Daytona is higher because of all the personal issues.
But it's short too. That's where the degree of difficulty kind of
because of the brevity album, because of the brevity in recording time, like all of those things. Like, y'all did that in what, many days?
Right. And then he already had on the board that he was about to do a Nas album, about to do his own album, about to do one with Kid Cudi.
Right. Yeah. And you have to think, the head in him, and this is what I mean about how he really did a job with Daytona. Oh, somebody that knows they're about to do a record with Nas that's cranking out the songs that he was cranking out for Pusha T, usually will hold something for somebody like Nas. He ain't hold shit. He's like, no, I'll give him some other shit. Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But see, this is where, and this doesn't really go towards the Verzuz conversation with Dr. Dre, where I've always kind of separated Kanye and Dr. Dre as producers, and not really beat makers, but just producers of hip-hop artists. Dr. Dre doesn't do well with established artists, where Dr. Dre does wonders with new artists because he can mold them and he can create their whole identity. And when, he has established artists, you get what happens with Rakim, right? You get what happened with The Firm. You get, Eve coming back and never really putting anything out. Big Bang took forever to come out. When it came out, it was cool, but, it's not their best work. Kanye's proven that he can do this with new artists, established artists, and he's not going to have you sitting here waiting on the shelf for a long time either. Because if Kanye gets you, you're coming out with something.
Mike, I would submit to you that Ye is, and this is part of his genius, he actually does better with seasoned artists because he's heard them, and so he kind of knows what he needs to give them because he's that versatile as a producer. Dre is still arguably our greatest producer ever, but you kind of know what he's going to give you too, and that's what makes Ye more built to do something like a Blueprint or a
Is it not a... It's kind of like that. All right, I kind of correlate it to if we're talking about a college coach and a professional coach. I kind of give the more credence to the professional coach that has to deal with the athletes that get paid more than them, that have egos, that have the power to push you out the door, as opposed to a college coach that's like, your whole destiny's in my hands. And that's kind of where Dre is when it comes to newer artists. It's incredible work, obviously, it stands on its own, but you got total creative control with this new artist, whereas I think it would be difficult, at least more difficult, to work with somebody who's already set in their ways, knows that they're great, and not really looking for you to give them too much direction, but you're still able to give it to them on some Phil Jackson subliminal Zen Master type shit.
And I get what you're saying, but also, too, never underestimate this. Oh, nobody who's been with Dr. Dre has sounded better after dealing with him, except for Nas. Everybody else hasn't.
Well, see, Nas was before him. I don't count Nas.
Right. So everybody who he's kind of bought in, they sound their best with him even still to this day. I mean, Cube would be the exception.
Cube would be the exception. I was going to say, is that a good thing, though? Because, I mean, I think that it says something when people that come from Greg Popovich's system, coaching-wise, are able to go off and be successful on their own.
So I like the basketball analogy, Mike, but let me frame it for you like on a collegiate level. I'm from Charlotte, so the Duke, North Carolina thing is big. I'm a Duke fan. As a Duke fan, what people, and when I'm saying Carolina Duke, I'm talking Dean Smith, Coach K, since we're talking about coaches.
Right.
I think that all the Carolina fans used to always tell me growing up is be like, yeah, but when they get to the league, Dean get people more ready for the league than Coach K. Coach K's players in the league be role players. We got Michael Jordan, Sam Perkins, James Worthy. What I'm saying? Kenny Smith, Brad Doherty. Like, I can go on and on. I've been having this argument my whole damn life. And so Kanye, so the Kanye Dre thing may be more like a Dean Smith, Coach K thing, where it's like, Kanye has the artists more prepared to go forward, but they both at a high level winning championships on the same level. That's why I brought up Dean Smith, Coach K.
I would give more credence to Dean Smith because Coach K, you can go out there and get people who fit your mold. You're right. You know what I'm saying? Like especially in college basketball.
Don't get it twisted. No. Don't get it twisted. Dean Smith had a system. You're gonna play.
No. I'm just saying, like with Coach K, right? You could go out there and recruit guys that might not be the greats on that next level, but they're good for you at the moment, right? Whereas Dean Smith is like, yo, I'm gonna take that chance on the best talent, and I'm gonna work it. You know what I'm saying? Put in the work to actually mold them into my system. That's more work.
No. You're right about that because it's like I'll give you an example of somebody. No chance in hell Rasheed Wallace was going to Duke. He knew it. We knew it. Everybody knew it. He was going to Carolina.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Dean Smith took on Sheed and like guys like that. Like, yeah.
I'm sorry, man. If I'm I guess it depends on your situation, but I know at least if I work with Kanye as an artist, my stuff's gonna come out. That's the question.
That's what I mean about he prepares you better for the league. Because I'll tell you what, Mike, all the great Duke players that are great in the NBA, we knew they was going to be great in the NBA when they showed up. Starting with Grant Hill. Like when Grant Hill walked on the floor, like, yep, that guy's about to be an all-star in the NBA.
Well, Grant Hill's
so that wasn't necessarily something that Coach K did. Like he came in and he was like, yeah, so he's a top 5 pick in 2 or 3 years. You know what I'm saying?